What's good, everyone? Welcome to the video and welcome to the channel. Season 2 of the finals just dropped last week, so we're gonna dive into the settings so we can optimize our competitive experience in this game. And I'm not saying what I'm gonna show you here is the absolute right way to do everything. This is kind of just a blueprint for you guys, and you can take it and do what you want with it. As you go along, drop your thoughts down below. Let's go ahead and get started. So needless to say, we are gonna want to dive into the settings here. Starting with gameplay, it is first gonna prompt you to use enemy team colors. This one is a tad bit tricky in my opinion. I like to keep this on just so I can let my teammates know, okay, I'm engaging with somebody from the orange team or I'm engaging with somebody from the purple team. Other people may find this a little bit distracting, but if you find it distracting, go ahead and just turn this off. Once again, I use it just so I can give my team more intel. I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but I definitely think it has helped us win some games. Hide player names, I recommend turning that off. And your preferred region, I don't even really think this matters, so I would just leave it on automatic. You could try to do whatever region you are from. I don't recommend going to a region where you are not from though. You might have a bad time, you might get really bad lag spikes. So if you're expecting to go over to another region and expecting for it to act as a VPN, you're gonna be very disappointed. So crossplay, if you are on console, in my honest opinion, you will probably have the best time if you turn crossplay off. I usually play this on PlayStation, but for the sake of this video, I am on PC. But I usually have crossplay on anyway because most of my friends play on PC. Auto sprint, I recommend turning this on if you are a controller player. If you are a mouse and keys player, honestly, I can't really speak on that stuff too much. For the auto sprint trigger delay, at this point in time, I recommend just leaving it at default at 0.5 just to be sure that you don't screw anything up. All right, now let's talk about the crosshairs. Let me go ahead and move my fat ass head out of the way here for you. So this is super important on the channel here. I am usually super hyper focused on centering. We're gonna want to really pay attention to our crosshairs here. For the crosshair width, this is all personal preference. So what you're gonna want to do is maximize the outline width, because as you can see here, it's putting a dense black outline outside of the crosshairs, which is dope. And you can also go ahead and change the colors to a certain degree. I personally don't recommend doing that, especially because this game and this new season in particular have super vibrant colors, and you might end up losing your target to a certain degree. But if that's your cup of tea, then by all means. And for the outline, again, I don't recommend changing that color either. If you do, make sure it's a darker color, I guess maybe like a navy blue or army green. But again, with the really vibrant colors in this game, it can be pretty distracting and you can most definitely lose where you're actually aiming. And for the center dot, you're gonna want this on, obviously. In my opinion, the center dot is way more important than the crosshair even. So for the center dot radius, I have this at 20. Obviously, that is the biggest. When you go ahead and minimize it, you can actually make it so small to where you can't even see it. Again, in my opinion, the center dot is even way more important than the crosshair itself, because that is literally where you're centering. That center dot is where you should be shooting. And for the opacity, you're gonna wanna leave that at 100. If you lower it, it'll go ahead and make things transparent. Again, opening up the door for you to miss your shots because your centering might not be where you think it is. So let's scoot on over to the controller settings. Obviously, your look sensitivity, horizontal and vertical, are personal preference. On PlayStation, I play on 220, but on PC, since I have less input lag, I'll probably go ahead and keep this at around where it is now. Zoom sensitivity multiplier and scope zoom sensitivity multiplier, I recommend leaving these at default. Focal length sensitivity scaling, leave this on. Horizontal look boost, I would leave this at default as well, but this can actually be beneficial to adjust. Let's say if you just got out of a gunfight and you know somebody's behind you, maybe you could go ahead and turn around just a tad bit faster. And if you can't necessarily get the kill, at least put some shots into the enemy so your teammate can go ahead and clean that up. Vertical look boost, I recommend leaving this at 0. So we're gonna go ahead and scoot down here to look response curve. So I have tried linear, just like Call of Duty. I've definitely tried the linear aiming, but I do think it is a little more inconsistent than exponential. I have not tried the sinusoidal look response curve type, so I can't say if I recommend using this or not. So for the controller bindings, for the most part, leave everything alone. I definitely recommend toggle for both sprint behavior, crouch behavior. ADS obviously hold, especially if you are here from the Call of Duty community. I don't know how many controller players actually toggle to ADS, so again, just leave that alone. And reload and pickup behavior, once again, this one is a little bit tricky depending on the situation. I would personally want to prioritize my reload. And aim assist, obviously you're going to want this on. Sensitivity reduction on, target tracking on, zoom snapping on. And in the Euro part of the settings, I recommend leaving all of this on default. And all the way at the bottom, you will see controller vibration. Ideally, you want to turn this off if your shot is off. If your shot is on while you're shooting your weapon, go ahead and leave it alone. Unfortunately, in this game, there is no option to adjust the controller vibration intensity like it is in Modern Warfare Crosshair 3. So you have to choose either on or off. No meeting yourself in the middle here. Now, as far as mouse and keys, unfortunately, I don't have any sauce for you guys. Now, as far as accessibility in the colorblind mode, again, this is tough because everything in this game is so vibrant and colorful anyway. I guess go ahead and choose what fits your eyes the best. Subtitles, I'll probably end up turning that off, but if you have these on, definitely do not leave these at large or medium. Major distraction. But to keep distractions to a minimum in this sense, just go ahead and turn it off completely. Motion blur, you want that disabled. Controller bindings, if you are new to this game, I definitely recommend leaving this preset at equipment wheel. Now for the audio, the master volume, this game is loud as hell. So I think 75 might even still be a little bit too loud. It's annoying when you're trying to scream over the game to talk to your teammates. So I definitely do not recommend having this at 100%. I might even lower this down to 70 myself. Music volume, that shit is annoying. I turn that shit off completely. Sound effects volume, that is up at 100%. Dialogue volume, I'll probably go ahead and lower this just a little bit. It can get pretty annoying. Sometimes I think it's funny, but depending on the situation, hearing that guy's voice just pisses me off. Now, as far as voice chat, this is all personal preference. I do use push to talk just in case I have to speak to a teammate that is not in my Discord. And as far as the output, obviously you're going to want this to be your headset or whatever you're using. Now for night mode, do not turn this on. It'll make the game even louder. If you decide to, you'll probably have to lower the game even more. I don't think it'll give you any competitive advantages or anything, so I recommend just leaving this off. Now, as far as video, you're going to want this on full screen, obviously, and the resolution should be appropriate to whatever your monitor is. VSync, I personally have this disabled. I don't really think that this game calls for it. And if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, NVIDIA low latency, unless you have a really good rig, I recommend only leaving this on. When you put it on plus boost, it'll start drawing from both your CPU and GPU. So I like to think it puts a little less strain on your computer if it's just on. Custom frame rate, you can leave this on unlimited unless you are having some frame rate problems. Then I'll recommend lowering it to about 240 or 144. But again, it has to be appropriate to whatever your monitor is. If you have a 144 Hz monitor, don't try to run this at like 300 frames or anything. For the resolution scaling method, NVIDIA DLSS, underneath that where it says NVIDIA DLSS, I recommend putting that on performance. But everybody's computer rig is different to a certain degree, so go ahead and figure out what works the best for you. Now, field of view, obviously this is personal preference. I do recommend running it just a little bit closer than you might think, because in this game you will get into a lot more long-range engagements than you might think. Motion blur disabled for obvious reasons. It'll be distracting and can cause you to lose gunfights. Lens distortion, also turn this off. I think it makes things look a little bit foggy. NVIDIA RTX global illumination, I recommend either dynamic medium or dynamic low. And for overall quality, depending on your rig, it might default everything to epic. I absolutely don't recommend that. I don't care if you have the most godlike build. So what I recommend you do here, set the overall quality level to low and then change your view distance to medium. So that is going to go ahead and change the overall quality level back to custom for you up top there. So change that to medium and change shadows to medium as well as textures. So keeping things on the lower end will give you a competitive advantage, allowing you to have more frames per second, and it'll just take more strain off of your computer. Well, I hope you guys found the video insightful. If you did the content, I'll drop 2 more videos for you on the screen right here. And consider subscribing. We are chasing down our first 1K subs here on the channel. Let's go ahead and make that happen. Thank you all for your time. All y'all take care, and I'm out.